am very delighted to see that there are so much of you that are interested in dating, improving your sex life, and just having fun in your student life while dating, because you all know that's what you're probably gonna do a lot. My name is Noah van Ras, and I'm a sexual healing coach, and today we're going to talk about dating, but actually also about sex. And don't worry, this will not be like the sexual education you had in high school, where we're going to talk about condoms and preventing pregnancy and all that kind of stuff, because we all know that's not really what sex is about. And wherever you are in your sex life right now, maybe you're a virgin, maybe you are experiencing a lot of casual sex, or you're still at the beginning of your dating process, there will be tips for you during this talk. So I hope you hear clearly and pay attention. So first I'm going to tell you, but why are you, Noah, a person to tell me something about sex? And to answer that question, we have to go a little bit back in time. When I was 16, I fell in love with my boyfriend, my first love of my life. And we had great sex after a few months. We spent some good time dating, and it was actually all right. I thought, this is amazing, I have nice sex, nothing on the end. But then after a year, all of a sudden, I couldn't have penetrational sex anymore. And I thought, what the hell is happening right now? I don't have a big sexual trauma. I have an amazing relationship. What? So I did what probably most of you also would have done in that case. I ran to my phone and I Googled what the hell is happening with me. And the first hit told me I had vaginismus. And vaginismus is a condition where you have so much tension down under that you cannot have penetration anymore. And that's where my journey in discovering the real truth about sex began. I was thinking, okay, but how can this happen if you are clearly in a safe relationship, and if you are clearly just nothing really big happened in my life, but the main point with physical conditions, considering sexuality, is that there is a trigger, most of the time a mental trigger. So I dove deep into sexuality, and I discovered that being safe is more than just trusting each other. Being safe requires you to feel your own boundaries. So your boundaries are what you do want to do and what you don't want to do. And you might think, okay, but boundaries, does that mean that I now always have to be very safe and boring and whatever? No. If you know what you don't want, you can also know what you do want. And I discovered that without notice, I had overstepped my boundaries a few times, just in little moments. And you probably recognize this. You are doing something with somebody, and there's a little voice in the back of your head that is thinking, yeah, this is not really nice, or I don't really feel like doing this right now, but don't worry, I'm just gonna do it because we're now already in this activity and we're just going to continue with this. I also had those voices and I didn't listen to them. And I learned then that your body never lies. Your body keeps a score. Every time you overstep a little boundary, that means that you don't listen to your own body. You don't listen to what you don't want to do. And you also don't listen to what you do want to do. Because I really want to make the point that this will all lead to more pleasure. Listening to your boundaries will lead to more pleasure. Not boring sex, not boring dating life, but more pleasure. Because if you do trust yourself and you know that you never overstep your own boundaries, you can let go of control. And that's what's really important. Yeah. What's really important in dating and in sex life is that you feel safe. And okay, so the real point is you have to get to know your own boundaries. You have to be able to feel what you do want and what you don't want. But that's really easy to say, and you have probably heard that already 16 times in high school. And I promised you this was not going to be that talk. So I'm going to give you a tool, and those are 7 steps you can always implement in your dating process. You can always restart those 7 steps. And these 7 steps, within every step, you can take the conscious decision if you do want that or if you don't want that. And by doing that, you make sure that you feel safe in your own body and therefore feel safe in your relationship. And if you want to have a relationship, these are the 7 steps of intimacy and sex, and you maybe think, okay, but I want to know things about dating. But being able to have a nice relationship also requires being able to feel safe on a bodily level. You want to have an emotional connection, an intellectual connection, and also a sexual connection, and not only the horny kind of way, but the kind of way where you really can feel the connection with each other. That will give you a relationship that is fulfilling, that makes you learn things about yourself and about each other. So these 7 steps, you always go through these 7 steps, if you're conscious about them or not. By making them conscious, you can make sure that you have more attention on them, and therefore you can make choices and see it as a framework. It's not a stagnant pattern, but it's a framework to work with for yourself. So you start dating. Oh yeah, by the way, these 7 steps are also very nice to a tool if you do have struggles right now in a relationship or in a dating process, and you didn't take the time to go through these steps, then you can use them to heal your relationship or go back to square one and find the spark again, which was what I did, and with this method I actually healed the vaginismus. So the first step of these 7 steps, if they want to show me them, yes. The most important step is the first step. This is not an amazing thing for me to do. The first step actually is eye contact. And this is also the most important step. And I will tell you why. Because with eye contact, when you're in a bar or you're in a club or whatever, you can actually scan subconsciously if the other one is available for you. And this goes beyond thinking. It's a biological process. You look each other in the eye. Is the other one saying yes or looking at you with a sparkle? Is the other one available to go further with you to the second step? And this is also the step that most of the people that get in a sexual rut later on in their relationship, they skip this step. So this is a magical step. It sounds boring, but it brings all the connection back into your sexuality. And you do know the saying, the eyes are the portal to your soul. I don't know if it's true, but there is surely some truth in it. And maybe you also know that a lot of boys especially always say, it's about the eyes. It's about the eyes. And then from eye contact, you go to the second step. You are still in public, probably in a dating situation, restaurant, club, not private. And there's getting some tension between you two, and you start to smell each other, you start to get your hands on each other, you start to feel if there is a connection to want more. And it's really important in this situation if you that you take time for this. Because if you want a relationship that is nice in the long term, then you also want to have emotional connection. And this is the part where you can really build that emotional connection. There are no hormones from sex and stuff in the game yet. So it's really an important step. And then we go to the next step. That is too soon. That's actually not the thing I want to tell you, to go soon, but to go fast. Now the second step of the third step is where it gets more spicy. You are now probably after the date, or you are in public, but somewhere cozy, wall outside of a club or something, And this step ends with kissing. So you start to really get more intimate with each other. And while during this phase, it's important to notice the signals of your body and of your feelings. Does this person really kiss nice to you? Or is there something in your head that you think like, yeah. Don't ignore those little signals if you want to have a nice match, because your body keeps the score and your body knows better than you. So really take the time to feel what's happening in your body in this step. And then in the fourth step, things are getting more spicy. So you go into a private area, probably your bedroom, and this is where we all know this. What's now gonna happen? You're gonna feel around with the clothes on, still discovering a bit, and this is where it often goes too fast, because often we rapidly go naked after this step, and then you already are having sex and stuff. And of course you can do that, but the chance that you're having a great long-term relationship, if you do this too quickly, is not that big as if you take more time. Because if you take more time, you can actually build a base of physical connection without having the sexual hormones in the game, which will then lead to more connection during the actual sexual intercourse. And that will bring you closer together, and make sure that you don't do things that you don't want to do yet. Okay. And it is also very important to keep in mind that you have to relax. It's also a reminder for me right now. The thing is, the more you can relax, the more you can open yourself. And opening up yourself means that there is more space in your body to react to the things that are happening with your body. So if somebody touches you, it does not only tingle down under, it spreads through your whole body. And that brings more pleasure in your life. And also by relaxing more, you can also feel, do I really want to do this or not? And you can always go a step back. Oh. Okay, then this is the fifth step. You're going to do some more spicy things, as you all know. And in this phase, it's really important to, again, feel your boundaries. And the thing in this phase is also that there are two different persons on the sexual spectrum. On one side, you have the fiery people, the people that get excited really quick, but the excitement can also go away very quick. And that's often the thing with guys. I'm sorry, but it's just a generalization that most guys often have a lot of fire energy in them, and there's no problem with that. But therefore, it's very important to understand that a woman often, or somebody that's, you can also be a guy that's a watery type, but that water needs more time to warm up. It needs to cook, it needs to warm up. And often, what often happens in this step is that one person is already really fired up and ready and excited for everything to happen, and the other person just goes with it. And you immediately create distance by doing that. And you want to go through this together, because if you can have connection, then you can actually build something together, you can experience together. Otherwise, you are just two items, two objects doing something together. But you want to feel the connection, and it is important for you to feel what you want, and therefore you need more time, especially if you're a more watery type. And the whole thing about sex and relationships is that you have this dance between the water and the fire. You have this dance between one person needs more of this and the other person wants less of that. And by coming together, compromising in a way that nobody ever compromises its no, but only the yeses come closer to each other. So you focus on what you do have a yes for, and you bring those two things closer to each other. That's the dance of a relationship. Always find your two yeses and bring those together. Yes, okay, so this is also important, but I think the message is clear. But if you are not honoring somebody else's boundaries, you are taking them away from them. And I want to explain something that happens in a lot of relationships. In a lot of relationships, their boundaries are not respected. And what happens is, first, there is no problem. You can go on with this for a few months or even years. But after a time, there starts to be something like a sex allergy. And one of the two persons all of a sudden doesn't feel that much sexual attraction to the other person anymore. And what happens is that because you overstepped your own boundaries, you actually gave away a piece of yourself, a piece of the connection, a piece of the love you two had together. And by doing that, the sexual attraction became less, because there is less of the common thing you had together. So overstepping your own boundaries makes the other person insecure, and it makes them step away a bit. So every time you do something you do not want, or let somebody do something that you do not want, you step away a bit from the other person, if you do know it or if you don't know it. And there is a moment that you are standing so far away from the other person that you cannot even feel the attraction anymore. The sexual attraction is gone. And if somebody then does want to have sex with you, it feels like an allergy. So that's why it's really important to start from the beginning with not taking any compromises. Yeah, so it's your responsibility to take your boundaries, to take them seriously. And one thing that's really key to feeling your boundaries is actually a little bit different than what I was telling you, but you can also learn your boundaries by overstepping them by incident. You probably don't know your boundaries because they are changing in every moment. And that is why it's really important to relax, to take your time, to really be in your body. You can do a meditation or something, or just laugh for a minute, or watch a film, do something that relaxes you. And then you can try to feel your own boundary. But it can also be that after you already did something, you all of a sudden feel, yikes, I didn't want to do that. That's what happens often. And then you don't have a problem yet, don't worry. But that's information you have to take with you. That's information from your body. And the next time, when you are going to do that kind of thing, take that information with you and be careful and try to feel, okay, but now how is it this time? And that's how you learn your boundaries, by doing. But the thing is that if you are more conscious about it, then it's more easy to feel it. And it's all about being in your body. So you always follow the yeses. And if there is a no, you come back to the thing that you are mutually giving a yes to. We overstepped the step. It is really stupid that the whole point is not overstepping steps, and now I'm doing that all the time. The sixth step is talking about your relationship. You have now dated, you have also had some sexual intercourse kind of things, but no penetration, or if you're not in a relationship that includes penetration, no thing that is very vulnerable for you. But you are on the corner step of the next step in your relationship. And it's important to feel for yourself, okay, is this somebody I want to get really intimate with? Because you can also see these 7 steps as 7 layers around you. And the first step, eye contact, is a step that you have with a lot of people. That's not really intimate. And the second step, dating, and touching hands and stuff, you also probably did it with more people in your life. So every step you come a bit closer to your core. And the more close you come to the thing that's the most intimate to you, the most worthy it is. And also the more pain it can cause. So the last step, penetration, or something that's equally as vulnerable for you in that case, is the thing you really have to make a decision. Okay, am I going to do this or not? And talk about the consequences of doing that or not. Do you want to have contraceptives or no? And are you ready for a committed relationship, or are you still going to have some casual sex? Everything is all right. And then the seventh step is doing the most vulnerable thing for you. So having penetration sex or whatever. And you repeat these steps all the time and all the time again. And you might be thinking, yeah, duh, I know that this is how sex goes, but you have probably never thought about it consciously. And by making things consciously that you actually most of the time do unconsciously, you can take power over your life and you can take power over your boundaries. And it does not matter if you go through these steps very quickly or very slowly. The thing is that whether you do it quickly or slowly, that's a choice. That you consciously choose, okay, this is a one-night stand. I'm probably not going to marry this person, but that's all right with me. And I'm okay if I feel a few days later, I feel a bit off or a bit emotional, because my body subconsciously did connect with that person and has a little bit of a heartbreak right now. Whatever you want to experience, that's all right. But be conscious about the fact that you are having a relationship, you are relating with a person. And that person has feelings, you yourself has feelings, and it's important to care for yourself. Okay. Yes. And to stop ignoring the little signals, because you don't want to end up later in your life with sexual trauma that isn't that big of a trauma. There are only 30% of the relationships that have a happy sex life after 1 year. 30%. That is very, very, very sad. Because sex is something that brings you two together. It is something where you can learn about each other, you can share something with each other that you don't share with somebody else. And what you do in sex doesn't matter. It is all about how you feel and how you protect your own boundaries. And the more you care for your own boundaries, the more you go after your full body yeses, the more pleasure you will experience. Because you can only experience freely if you have the boundaries, the box to put something in there. If you can lay back, if you can relax, if you can say what you want, if you can do what you want, if you can feel what you want, and then everything you do in your dating life is going to be more magical. So if you take one thing with you today, then it is, yes, of course, you already know these 7 steps, but take them consciously with you. Consider the fact that every time you enter a new step, you come closer to somebody. You become more intimate with each other. You give more from yourself. And therefore, there's also more at stake. More heartbreak, more connection, more pleasure, but also the other side. More damage if you keep doing what you don't want to do. So go for the yeses, and yes, that's my message. And I'm curious, does anybody of you have a question for me? Nobody? So scary. Is there somebody question? Really? Ah, yes.
Talking about step 1 and step 3.
Yeah.
Step 3 was kissing, right?
Yeah, it's with kissing, getting in public a little bit closer to each other. Yeah. Yes, yes. Yeah. Actually, the question was, some people find touching more intimate, or kissing more intimate than touching. That was your question, yeah. Actually, kissing is the end of step 3, and you enter step 4 with it. So it is part of step 4. If you see it as layers, it's part of step 4. And step 4 is really where you start to connect on a deeper level with your bodies. And indeed, kissing is also one of those parts. But feel free to experiment with those steps and feel for yourself what's more intimate for you and what brings you together more. But I think it's also, it depends on the person. But it is something that's more intimate, at least, than eye contact and getting your hands together. Yes. Yeah?
Some people are also have difficulties with eye contact.
Yeah.
They have a reason. It's of course the first step which stays in the body. So if you have difficulties with eye contact,
Yeah.
is it like an alternative way or is it something?
Now, yes, a lot of people have difficulties with eye contact. I know a study that says that Gen Z actually has way more difficulties with holding hands or watching each other in the eye, and that's because you more often have casual sex and you skip that first step. But that first step is crucial, especially if you find it difficult to look in each other's eyes, because it's crucial if you want to have a bigger chance on a long-term relationship that fulfills you. Let me say it that way. It is really a thing that brings a connection and that builds the fundament, because you have to have the eye contact in each step that follows. You look each other in the eye to see if there is a yes or a no. You also do that with saying, of course, but it's really, what I said, a lot of long-term relationships, they stop looking each other really in the eyes. It becomes a practical thing. Okay, get your kids from school, blah, 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 and you do look each other at the eye, but not really looking, you're really seeing the other person, recognizing, hey, you are there and I like you, and hi, actually. So, especially if you do have difficulties with looking each other in the eye, that's something you could spend some more time on. And if one of these things you really feel unsafe with, or you think, okay, but I'm always feeling slightly unsafe, then I advise you to find a professional and find somebody that can help you find your safety back in your body, because that's really worth it, because then you can also experience pleasure and orgasms and a great relationship. Yes, okay. That was it for today's talk. And we have a question, and if you fill in on the paper your answer to this question and bring them to the bucket or something by the door, then you can win a prize. And the question is, what is the most important step of the 7 steps of sexuality and intimacy? Okay, thank you very much. And I hope you have a great sex life. Yeah?
Yes.